Again, hoping for something a little bit different from last time or the time before that, I thought this time might be a good idea to reach into my collection of items from Branching Out Bottle Shop and nab myself a Von Trapp Pilsner, a Bohemian style lager. They have a really cool logo, actually. I really like that mountain goat. High on a hill lived a lonely goat herd, lay Von Trapp beer. And I'm gonna try that out. See if she'd drink any good. I think this is gonna be a light, easy one. Oh boy. Oh boy, she filmed me. Oh boy. Well, I had a taste of it. Wasn't part of the plan. It just kind of worked out that way. But this is quintessentially what I think of as a pilsner. This is when I was a kid and my dad was drinking a beer, and I said, "Can I try your beer, Dad?" And he said, "Ah." And Mom said, "No, that's for grown-ups." And then at a later date, I said, "Can I try your beer, Dad?" And Dad went, "No, that's for grown-ups." And then later on, as a kid, I said, "Dad, can I try your beer?" And Dad said, "Can I give him a sip? Can I give him a sip?" And Mom was like, "Yeah, just a sip. That's it." And then Dad was like, "Okay, you can try a sip of the beer." And I tried a sip of the beer, and I went, "That's gross," and walked away. And then didn't drink beer until adulthood. And even then thought, that's probably going to be gross. That's what the beer tasted like in those days, back in the 80s or early 90s. I'm not sure when it was I was allowed to have my first sip of beer. But it is a flavor that a child would consider gross because it has a bitter quality to it. It has a certain well, I always say the Pilsner has kind of a whiny. It has a high note. There's a fiddle in there just going. It's not. It's just. There's a bitter edge and a fussiness about the Pilsner that I think takes the amateur drinker by surprise, and probably gains some normalcy simply because it's a relatively inexpensive form of beer. It's light, it's not calorically dense, and it does not have a huge amount of alcohol in it, so it's very accessible to the masses. And I think that's why it's become, or why it at the time had become, the predominant beer in the United States. I also think it helps that it was like Anheuser-Busch and other like German families that had brought their family beer recipe over from the old country. But then we strayed for a good then we strayed for a good long while into the realm of just plain lager. And it's funny because I thought when I first started drinking beer, I thought this is boring. And that's just how I always feel about lager. I just always feel like it's boring. But when you get a genuine Pilsner, it's not an ordinary lager. There's something special about it. And it feels like what they're saying here, brewed on the grounds of Trapp Family Lodge in Stowe, Vermont. This lager is crafted with the finest traditional ingredients, our pure Vermont spring. Oh, and they use pure Vermont spring water. Fancy. and it is by the family that inspired the sound of music. So these are the genuine Von Trapps, who escaped from Austria and gave a big old fucking middle finger to Hitler. So that's fantastic. That makes me happy. And those wacky nuns who pulled the engine parts out of the Nazis' vehicles too. That what a great movie that was. Uh, I'm kind of meandering here because there really isn't that much to be said about Pilsner. It's not really anything enormously special when you're used to drinking chai whoopie pie brown ale, or when you're used to drinking a barley wine that's been aged in Spanish sherry casks, or drinking a triple fermented Belgian farmhouse ale with yeast that makes it taste like a used saddle. It's not an extreme flavor by any stretch of the imagination, but it puts just that little something in there. And I'm actually just come up with a perfect metaphor for it. It puts a lilt into the song. You have the regular song that you're used to hearing, and then you hear the Irish folk cover version of that song, and you go, ah, isn't that pretty? We've taken a lager, and we've made us go, huh, isn't that just a bit different? And sometimes that's what you want. You don't want a beer that tastes of orange peel and coriander and clove spice. Sometimes you just want a beer that's nice and light and refreshing. And as far as Pilsners go, I would say this Von Trapp Brewing Pilsner is pretty much on the nose, guys. So well done to the lonely goat herd.